Puss in Boots was a movie we have been waiting for. The return to the Shrek universe. A universe that as a kid, I fell in love with and would watch the movies back to back until my mom made me go to bed. So when Puss in Boots The Last Wish was announced, I knew it was my destiny to see it. But a Shrek spin-off movie is known for having Easter eggs and little details from the movie and behind the scenes you might have missed. But don't worry, the hero is here to save the day. Grab your popcorn and let's dive into it. Hey guys, my name is The Hero, and you guys clicked on this video to see everything you might have missed in Puss in Boots The Last Wish. So let's not waste any of your time, because as we know from the film, you might not have much. So one of the first things that stick out to me in this film is Perrito the dog. Not only is Perrito one of the best characters in this film, bringing the laughs, but also making you cry at times, but the name stood out to me. Perrito is actually Spanish for dog, and depending on how you say the name, it kind of sounds like Birlo, as some pronounce his name as Paro and Perro. One of the coolest things about this is that Perrito is actually what they call donkey in the Spanish version of Shrek, and you can probably figure out exactly what that means. Movie buffs everywhere might have picked up on this particular scene involving Baby Bear. When Baby Bear gets a beehive stuck on his head, not only is it somewhat of a cute scene, but it is an iconic scene and a reference to another movie. This scene is symbolic of the iconic scene in The Wicker Man starring Nicolas Cage, which in a weird turn of events was actually asked to voice Shrek when the movie first was announced, and ultimately Nicolas Cage turned this role down and has said he's had no regrets. But this does make you kind of wonder, what exactly would it have sounded like if Nicolas Cage played Shrek? I mean, it couldn't have been that bad, right?
Well then fine, if that's what you want, then let's have it out right now.
Now, with this being an animated movie, a lot of us might not realize that these characters sometimes try to connect with us. And one of the coolest connections I thought they included in this film was Puss in Boots actually being allergic to shellfish. And we are shown this through the flashback of his many deaths, as one in particular is him dying to his allergic reaction. And while most cats are lactose intolerant, Puss in Boots seems to drink milk like water. However, one little detail that you might have missed, one of his actual deaths was caused from him getting drunk on it. Maybe the best route to go is to just actually die than get these stinky farts. But surprisingly enough, those aren't the most famous deaths from Puss in Boots. Puss loses one of his lives in a poker match against a couple dogs. And honestly, this probably wasn't very smart on Puss's side, but I do gotta give him credit for the massive balls of steel. This particular shot is actually a reference to the painting Dogs Playing Poker, which was a series of paintings, 18 of them to be exact, by Cassius Marcellus Coolidge, where he has multiple paintings involving dogs playing cards and gambling. I mean, I know Elvis sang about hound dogs, but let's be real here. We aren't in Las Vegas. And one of the coolest little details from this scene that you might have missed was that Puss in Boots actually cheated and had copies of the Ace of Spades to get the dogs mad. And many people have speculated that the dogs might have not just been mad from him cheating, but that the cat chose to use the Ace of Spades, referencing how dogs don't really like getting spaded that much. Now, whether Puss in Boots has some massive cojones or just likes playing life on the edge, this was a risky move by the cat, and one that didn't pay off to his advantage. But if we know anything about Puss in Boots, one of his favorite things that we find out in this film is that he loves fiestas. And we see this in the beginning of the movie when he invites everyone to come to the fiesta. And one thing that we know about this village and Puss in Boots in general is that they absolutely love cream, and sometimes a little too much cream. They just love being creamed. Yes, I know how that actually sounds now that I'm saying it. But coming from a studio who goes a little bit on the darker side than from Disney, I mean, guys, they put Pinocchio in a thong, let's be honest here. This is something that isn't far off from DreamWorks' business. And one thing that you might not have caught is that when Puss in Boots invites everyone to this fiesta, you can actually spot a random cow just sitting there. And this makes you kind of wonder if they're all sipping from the same tea, if you know what I mean. Now, after we go through the flashbacks of Puss losing out on all of his lives besides one, as he's walking out into the waiting room, you can actually spot a familiar figure sitting there waiting to see the doctor. On the left side of the screen, you can actually spot a wicked witch, which if diehard Shrek fans remember, is the witches who were servants to Rumpelstiltskin in Shrek Forever After. However, it seems like in this film, this witch is not all about the fighting, but more about just trying to get her problems addressed. I got a feeling that she's still trying to get over that butt whooping she got from Shrek. Now, the cameos don't stop there. One of the coolest cameos that was brought back into this film was seeing Gingerbread Man alive and well and still kicking. We actually see his cameo cameo pop up during one of the death scenes of Puss in Boots, where they're just trying to cook something and set a blaze to everything in the house, including Puss in Boots himself. But one of the coolest things about this Gingerbread Man cameo is that Gingerbread Man has appeared in almost every Shrek spin-off show or movie since the very first Shrek film. And this has you wondering, will there be more stories about the little gingerbread man? With him being one of the most iconic characters from the Shrek universe and beloved by many, it does have me wanting more. And let's all be honest, we all didn't forget the time when Big Gingy died, and we all shedded a tear during that scene. Now, when you are trying to compete with Disney, and they have references to past movies in almost any project they have, if you were DreamWorks, 2 cameos isn't just enough, especially when one was just a side character of a wicked witch. In a flashback for Jack Horner, who was kind of a side villain, sharing the villainous stage with Death in this film, who honestly was one of the best villains of any animated movie ever, and potentially any movie ever. In this particular flashback, you can actually catch a cameo for Pinocchio from the very first movie. And only diehard Shrek fans will pick up on this, and this one was definitely for you, as Pinocchio doesn't make any other cameo later in the film, talking to Puss in Boots or any other Shrek character. But it is nice to know that he was one of the main reasons that set up the villainous path for Jack Horner. And from one performer to the next, Pinocchio really stole the show. But let's be honest, the main cameo we were looking for and hoping would make an appearance in this movie, if there was going to be a cameo at all, was Shrek and Donkey. And I know some of you might want Fiona, but let's be honest here, those were the 2 we were hoping for, and DreamWorks did exactly that, but in a little reference to Disney. During one of the flashback scenes for Puss in Boots, when he's going through half of his life, or as some call it, life flashing before his eyes, we actually see Shrek and Donkey for the first time in almost forever, it seems like, in an animated movie. And they did this flashback in a somewhat of a reference to The Lion King, when Simba, Pumbaa, and Timon are walking on the log as he grows up. It's a nice little touch that DreamWorks added in, and another little diss at Disney. However, there's a lot more disses to Disney in this film, but we'll get to those as we go along. When Puss in Boots, Softpaws, and Perrito get to the magic portal, there's actually a reference to the Smurf movie. When Puss in Boots pushes Perrito through the portal, he says the same thing as the guy who throws his cat through the portal in the Smurf movie.
Riel? Are you dead?
And if you pause the scene in the Smurf movie as well, take a deeper look at that cat that he's holding. It kind of looks somewhat similar to Puss in Boots. Now, this could just be a coincidence, but I think not. It just makes sense that they throw this little cameo reference into the film when the cats look almost exactly the same. Now, as we know through this film, the character Death, played by the Wolf, is one of the most iconic characters in any animated movie of all time. And he's been trending on TikTok, Twitter, I mean, you name it, this man is all over the internet. But one of the coolest little things about this Death character that you might have missed is that he actually shows up earlier in the film before Puss in Boots actually loses his 8th life. During the fight in the beginning with the mighty giant, Puss in Boots defeats him, and as he is doing so, there's a shot of the giant crowd, and if you pause this section of the scene, you can actually spot Death sitting up in the top left-hand corner. And man, does he look creepy, and I freaking love it. This character was done so beautifully by DreamWorks and the cast and crew, and was played so amazingly that just seeing this little animation hidden detail in the beginning of the film is amazing because you weren't looking for it. And of course, we got one of the biggest teases in DreamWorks history when the new Shrek movie was teased at the end of the film. When Puss in Boots and gang get on the ship and head off to far, far away, Puss actually says,
"Off to find new adventures and to see some old friends."
And man, it's been a while since we've had a great Shrek film, so I am super excited for this. Now, the moment you have all been waiting for, the Disney disses in this film. During most of Jack Horner's scenes, you actually get an array of items that he uses in his mystery bag of endlessness. Well, most of these items are very symbolic or the actual thing that are used in most Disney films, which is DreamWorks' way of using Jack Horner as the Disney enterprise themselves. But the disses don't stop there, because if you stayed around through the credits, there's actually a post-credits scene in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And this is a way of dissing the Marvel Cinematic Universe that Disney owns as well. Puss in Boots actually says,
"You're still here?"
hinting at the fact that we all stay around for movies, all because of what the MCU has done to all of us. Now, most of these disses aren't too bad, but I think it's pretty cool that DreamWorks likes to keep it a little interesting for the Disney fans out there. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was one of the most iconic films from 2022 that we won't forget. Were there some Easter eggs that were hidden that even I didn't find? If so, make sure you guys drop a comment and let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys leave a like on the video and hit that subscribe button and bell icon so you guys don't miss anything. And as I always say, stay nerdy, stay geeky, and I will see you guys at the movies. Bye-bye!